We had a few extra minutes at the end of class today, and someone asked about adding thread to the My Favorite Threads library, and I honestly had never done it, so we looked and found the process to do it, but then we ran into a little problem, so let me just show you. So we went to libraries. You're going to go to the thread library, and it opens up, and these are all the threads that EQ came with. It's even under those manufacturers, it is not all of their thread, but there's plenty to choose. And if I was using thread for the most part, I would probably just go find something that was close to the color that I want. But if you want to add a specific thread, you're going to go to the My Favorite Thread tab. And here's my libraries, and I don't have anything there right now. So I'm going to click on Create Library, and it asks for a name for your new library. Well, Glide Thread is made by Filtech, but Filtech makes other threads as well. So I'm just going to have my library named Filtech, and then I could have the different types of thread under that category. And 10 styles, I'm fine with that. I'm going to say OK. So I'm going to click on the plus sign next to My Favorite Libraries. I'm going to click on Filtech. And then style 1, I'm going to right click on that, modify the style, and I'm going to call it Glide. Then if I add any other Filtech threads, I would change the style for that one as well. I'm going to say OK. So now to add the thread, I have to go down here to this button that says Add Thread. I'm going to click on that, and it wants to know the thread name, and that is actually the color, the thread number, so whatever number if you were reordering it, and the manufacturer. So that could be either Glide or Filtech. I probably would put Glide in it. But then this is where we got stuck. The color range. We needed the RGB values, and most manufacturers do not have that published online. You can write to them and they might send it to you. I did have a student write to, I don't know for sure who it was, but they did have an Excel spreadsheet sent to them with all the RGB values. And I did find that it wasn't exactly what I was getting through this method, but it's close enough for visual representation. Anyway, if you want to find out the RGB value, this is one way to do it. I'm going to close this. And then I am going to open my browser, and we found a Glide color card. It's a PDF. I want a picture, so I'm going to work around that. Also, I do not want pictures of just the cone or the spool of thread because those have highlights and shadows. So depending on where you clicked on that, you would get a different color. So I'm just going to scroll down until I find the section of thread where the one that I want to copy is, or that I want to know the RGB values. I'm going to click Print Screen on my keyboard. And with this version of Windows, it pops up and gives me options. I'm just going to drag a box around that section of thread. It is now on my clipboard. So now I'm going to go open Paint, and that's available on any PC that's running Windows. And I've just used it, so it's here, but I could have typed Paint in there. It opens up, and I can either say Edit, Paste, or I could do Control V as a keyboard shortcut. So here it is, my picture. So now I'm going to go up and choose the Color Picker tool. And once I've selected that, I'm going to go down, and just because it's the one I picked, I'm going to get the grape color. But before I click on it, I want to make note that the name of it is grape. The number is 40265, and I did write that down. I'm going to click on the color, and you can see it pops up here in the preview window. That color is selected. If I go over here to the Edit Colors and click on that, it tells me my RGB value. Red is 137, green is 100, and blue is 199. So I don't need anything else. I just needed to know that, so I can cancel out of there, go back to Electric Quilt. I'm still in My Favorite Threads, but if you had left, you would go Library, Thread Library, My Favorite Thread, choose the Glide category, and then say Add Thread. So for my thread name, I want the color in there. I'm going to say grape. The thread number is 40265. And the manufacturer, I'm going to say Glide. The manufacturer is actually Filtech, but this is what's going to show up when I hover over it. And then my RGB values down here. My red was 137. My green was 100. And my blue was 199. And there's that purple. I'm going to say add. And you can see that it changed it into that icon that represents thread with the lines. And if I hover over it, it tells me that the color, it's Glide, and the color is grape. I could add more threads if I want to. I'm not going to right now, but don't forget to save the library. So I'm going to say save library and say okay, and I can close this. So now if I want to add it to my sketchbook, I would go libraries, thread library, my favorites, and I would select it, click on it, and say add to sketchbook. Okay, I was getting this message before, and I was getting ready to write to Electric Quilt because I couldn't figure out why, because if I look in my sketchbook, it should have added it to the end, and it did not. So I was testing what I could do about that, and what worked for me, I selected all the threads and then I clicked delete. These are the default threads from Electric Quilt. I clicked delete, said okay. Now I went back to my favorite threads, Glide, and I added it to the sketchbook. And now if I go to the sketchbook, it's there. So if you want all your, I don't know why it's doing this, but this is what I found it was doing. If you want your default threads back as well as that color, you can go to the EQ thread library, and here's the EQ default threads. If I click on that and then click here, I can say select all threads, add them to the sketchbook. And if I go to the sketchbook, my grape is still at the beginning. Well, yeah, it is. I don't know why it's... And then all my defaults were added after that. There we go, the Glide thread color. So now if I want to use this, let's just go design a quilt from scratch. This is fine. Design. You would use the threads usually on layer 3, but you could use them when you're doing applique, when you have embroidery. But let's go layer 3. Let's go up to the library, go to the block library. And you can come down here to stencils. So these are your quilting designs. Choose one or more and add them to your sketchbook and close. So now I'm ready to use that stencil on my quilt. We are on layer 3. We're going to go set block, and we want to go over to the stencils tab. So these are my quilting designs. I'm going to click and drag this onto the quilt. Let's just zoom in here. And I'm going to click the adjust tool, click here. Let's just say that's in the block. Let me zoom in big enough so that we can see what's happening here. Okay, so now I'm on layer 3, so my thread tools are available. They are not, I don't think they're available on layer 1. Let me just check. Oh no, they are. I'm wrong. Layer 3. I'm going to go thread tools. And now that first color is our purple, but it doesn't tell me what it is when I hover over it. So my purple is selected. I can choose what style I want for this. Let's just do a solid so we can really see it. And I can also choose the weight of the thread, so how well it's going to show. I'm going to go to the heaviest just so I can see it. And let's try the thread brush. There it is. So I have to do each one, or I could do, let's see, spray threads. It does the whole design. If I wanted to swap threads, I could switch to a different color and click on the whole thing and it swaps everything that's that color. Let's go back to the purple. So there's the purple that we brought in, so I can use it. Seems like a little more work than what I probably want to do. I would probably just find a thread that's close, but it's available if you want to do it.